samasta sukhino bhavantu.
We dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother and share with each other as brothers and sisters for all our relations. Aho Matakvyasan Hari Om Tat Sat. Archaeologists have found evidence of great civilizations in India that date from 30 and 35,000 years ago, carbon dated scientifically. Civilizations. So at a time when archaeologists believe that we in the West were living in cave, wearing skins, our tools were stones and bones. There were great, great civilizations in India. And everywhere in the world, the world view that we have in the West, what we call civilization, is the product of patriarchy and imperialism, and their daughter, the church, or their wife, the church, their mistress, the church. But in India, we have a cosmology that has some credibility, that was revealed by a higher power. And I was just thinking this morning that either we created a concept of the divine that reflects our situation, or that the gods have been made in the image of man, so to speak, or that it's the other way around, that the gods created man and woman, created man in their image. But in any case, in the cosmology that we get in ancient India, the root is existence, being. And being, existence, sat, being, chit, consciousness, ananda, the bliss of this living consciousness, is called Brahman. And Brahman is an unchanging absolute. But somehow this Brahman, this absolute, is breathing. It's alive. The creation is rhythmic, like our day and night, and breathes out in these vast cycles, which are called yugas. But in any case, our breath is a microcosm of this fundamental rhythm of life and of the creative intelligence whose vehicle is life. Now, the reason I bring this up this morning is because we live in this ocean of life force. We live in this ocean of life force, and yet we have little to say about it. There is nothing that we are more dependent upon than this life breath. And we're immersed in this vast, vast ocean of life force. Now, in the cosmology of ancient India, this ocean is prana, from the root pra, to go forth, and anna, to breathe. So this ocean of prana is, again, the breath of Brahma. And again, Brahma means an ever expanding breath, an ever bubbling forth, ever, ever breathing forth, ever evolving, ever expanding breath of life. So we are immersed in this breath of Brahma. And as I always say, Brahma is breathing life into each of us, that in every moment we are the face of Brahma, the face of the cosmos, the face of this ever expanding breath of life, that you are the face of the cutting edge of the unfolding of the creative potency of this great mystery of life and consciousness. And somehow, this breath, though it is the source of our life, and it is what sustains and maintains this life, this breath is beyond, largely beyond the five senses that are, we're not tuned into this breath, except possibly through touch. And of course, if it stops, all this stops. But the breath is beyond the five senses. And somehow this breath is so I want to kind of talk about this ocean of breath as an etheric ocean, that we're living in this etheric ocean. And the quality of ether is unobstructed motion. So the quality of this ocean of ether is it's all pervasive, and yet it's unobstructed. It's a total harmony. It's a totally integrated. And while we can't really see this breath directly, form is an expression of the underlying energy, so that we can see the evidence of this breath in the forms of nature. And one of the things that I've been emphasizing is that all of nature approximates the golden ratio spiral, and that the golden ratio spiral is the mathematics of the breath of Brahma, of the breath of life, of this life breath of a living universe. That everything that moves is the breath of Brahma. So here we're looking at the largest image that astronomers have put together of everything that we know about our galaxy. And again, what are you seeing here? This golden ratio spiral, the breath of the cosmos, the breath of Brahma, the life breath of a living cosmos. That the average distance of each planet in our solar system approximates the golden ratio. That the planets, as they spiral around the sun, that their average distance from each other are playing the same music of creation. That we find the same proportional harmonics which express the rhythms of the life breath of a living universe in the average distance of the planets around the sun, as you find in the rhythms of a chamber nautilus. That we find the same golden ratio spiral in every wave of the ocean, that our Earth is 80% water. And what we find in the energy, in the rhythms of this 80% of this water, is the golden ratio spiral in the breaking of the waves. And these oceans are driven by the solar winds, that what you're seeing in the golden ratio spiral in the ocean is the energy of the solar winds. So we would, again, in the same way, here we're seeing that same golden ratio spiral in a unicorn horn shell, or in a spiraling pine cone, or in a snail shell that you find everywhere in nature. And here we're looking at the atmosphere, the spheres of breath, the proportional harmonics of the life breath of a living earth, and the way our bodies in fundamental ways are aligned with the proportional harmonics of the atmosphere, the spheres of breath, the life breath of a living earth. Again, everything that lives is a product of two breaths: the yang, the prana, the expanding breath, and the yin, the apana, the contracting breath. And you see this pattern throughout nature. Here we're looking at it in a sunflower. And what's most interesting about this pattern in the sunflower is the seeds grow at the intersection of the rajas and tamas, that where these two ultrasonic forces cancel each other out as a still point. And the seeds of the sunflower grow at these still points, where the spiraling yin and yang of the cosmic ultrasound counter each other in a still point. Again, every proportion of our body is reflection of the universality of this life breath. Our invocation of the universal life: I am that without boundaries, limitation, or separation. I am a universal life of indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. The stars and the planets are the cells of my body. I am filled with indescribable energy and unlimited consciousness. I am willing energy from that I am, Mahavishnu, the Great Spirit, Narayana, the soul of the universe, Maha Saraswati, goddess of wisdom, to manifest radiant health, perfect health, divine health, to manifest deep inner peace, equanimity, serenity, to manifest self-realization, illumination, liberation. May peace and justice prevail on our dear Mother Earth. So here are the oval fields that I picture. So when we're talking about the air element, and air is about movement, the neutral source of the air element would be the heart, and again, establishing the basic movement of the heartbeat. The lungs, the expanded, the yang expression of movement, the rhythm of the lungs, very fundamental. And then the negative, the contracting, the eliminating would be the colon. So can everybody see that oval field of heart, lungs, and colon as the embodiment of the air element? And then for fire, which is directed energy, the neutral source is the fire center radiating out of the sacrum. And then the positive of working are all the organs of the solar plexus, the gallbladder, the liver, the stomach, pancreas, spleen, all of these fiery red organs that are so central to our assimilating, transforming, working to sustain the body. And then the negative is the external expression of fire in the thighs. Can everyone see that oval field of source, positive, and negative of fire directed energy? And then water, the crystallization of forms, the neutral would be the sacrum, the positive would be the hips, and the negative is Pisces, the feet. So the neutral is Scorpio, and the positive, um, the hips, and the negative, the feet. And then for Earth, we move into the evolutionary posture. We move into the fetal position, and we see so I'm looking at those oval fields, essentially emanating from the chakras, um, and being fundamental to the organization of the body. Again, if we're looking at Babbitt's atom, look at this image of Babbitt's atom and the way it parallels the thoracic cavity. And again, the same thing on the back. We see it in its opposite. And again, we were talking about Earth as being a still point between the yin and the yang. So can you see how the body embodies the crystallization of the forces going from above to below, within to without, and without to within? Can you see the fundamental nature of these images as we project Babbitt's atom into the macrocosm of the body? So I think these images are very telling, in a sense, as we talk about over fields and we talk about the reality that we get here by viewing Babbitt's atom. Did many of you have a chance to read my article, Revisiting Babbitt's Atom? And that becomes a real foundation. That becomes a real foundation for, let's see if this is going to work. Let's hope it works. For the way that the atoms align itself from male to female to create fields. Oh, missed it. So here we're throwing the atoms together to create a field, and there's some sort of a pointing to the moon of what's happening on a molecular level. So if we're interested in this level of, so the different colors represent different rates of vibration. And what we're looking at is sympathetic vibration on a molecular level. So let's say this red is our tuning fork, and it's to the note C. So you're seeing the way the note C vibrates throughout the field. Or the green might be the note D, or the yellow, the E. And you're seeing the way these different notes are able to vibrate, not just transversely, but through every dimension, so that the vayus, the winds that blow through creation on the etheric level. So what we're talking about is your etheric body, which is a body of unobstructed motion, and the way the subtle, the universal elements flow through the etheric body on a molecular level to sustain form. So we're saying that the overall field is ether predominant, which are the subtle universal elements which flow through each other in an unobstructed way. And that they then materialize in the body as the gross material elements. Now the question is, how do these elements flow through each other in an unobstructed way? So here we were looking at an energy field, and this here is Babbitt's image of an atom. And then Babbitt had micro clairvoyant vision and was able to see the atomic and molecular level. Supposedly he developed this by just going into a dark room for a few days. But I always thought he was a gifted clairvoyant naturally. And then here we see this later image that comes from the Lucifer and a group of, I think, 20 or 30 gifted clairvoyants who created a study group from 1895 till I think 1920. So for over over a quarter of a century, they worked together, studying the subtle realms. This was reported in this book, Occult Chemistry. So you're seeing very similar images in Babbitt's atom and in Leadbeater's atom. Bishop Leadbeater led this group of theosophists. Now, the Principles of Light and Color has been reprinted many, many times. It's such an important book, but you have to be careful because the most common reprint is edited by Fabian, and he had no sympathy for esoteric philosophy, and his version, he's a color psychologist, and he got rid of everything esoteric in the book. So most of the book is missing from the translation of the Principles of Light and Color by Fabian. So if you find a copy of the Principles of Light and Color by Fabian, don't get it. You probably can get good copies of the Principles of Light and Color from Borderland Research. Borderlandresearch.com is a great esoteric group, and they will send you a reprint of the actual PDF, a PDF of the actual book. I paid $100 for the book about 20 years ago, but I imagine now you can download a PDF for free. So do Principles of Light and Color PDF. It's very, very well worth your exploration. There's nothing like it, nothing like an incredible treatise on the harmonic laws of the universe, etheroatomic philosophy of force. Babbitt had numerous other books because he ran courses in natural healing based on subtle energy. And there's just been nothing quite like it before or since, though I imagine the cranial and polarity community are making a significant contribution. The other book is in print, Occult Chemistry, and you can get that from the Theosophical Press in Wheaton, Illinois. And this is by Dr. Annie Besant, Besant, and Bishop C.W. Leadbeater are the two lead authors in the, okay. Now I wanted to hope that this flows, because the next question as we look at these energy fields, okay, is this question how energy fields nest within each other, okay? How these energy fields nest within each other. So
notice how this spiral
this is playing for you. Give me a thumbs up if you're able.
Going down a cone and then rotate it to the side, begins to look like the
here we're saying everything that vibrates is the breath of Brahma, and the mathematics of the breath and Brahma is the ratio spiral. So when we look at an energy field, all of the vectors of energy are golden.
So we can take this spiral now. This is one spiral seen from 4 views. The top left is a top view, and then to the right we have a side view. Bottom left is another side view, and bottom right is
so here is the finger pointing of the nucleus. So when we're looking at the nucleus, radiance of energy from that nucleus, all the energy radiating is radiating.
This cup is infinitely recursive
Through the mathematics.
Zoom into it.
And that mathematics of the golden ratio spiral is infinitely recursive, from quark to atom to molecule to cell.
We see that we can zoom in.
Galaxy.
And we see a cup inside a cup.
From physical to etheric, infinitely recursive.
This is the essence of what is
how the breath is able to spiral down to every atom of the body. That recursiveness of the golden ratio spiral. And the Grail cup, the Holy Grail, the Grail cup of the life force on every level of microcosm and macrocosm.
Sense here is that light cone going down concentric dodecahedron 60
so
degrees.
From DNA to galaxy, we see the same golden ratio spiral. All forms in nature form as an expression of energy.
Really it is the genetic material itself
golden
that was
ratio
referred
spiral.
to mythically as the cup of
Mathematics
the grail
of the breath
that
of
holds the light, the memory,
ubiquity
because
of
it
the
is the
spiral of
idealization of the
ubiquity
path for this
life.
recursion. So that the gene pool itself is this recursive embedded
So
color
these images
that allows
are
us to catch the
fundamental
light with
for
what
any
flows like
student
lightning in our very
of
bloodstream.
energy to understand energy field dynamics. So were you able to see that that movement? Were you able to give me a thumbs up? Great. Okay. So now you get the moon I've been trying to point to here of energy fields and the importance of the golden ratio and the images from Babbitt and Leadbeater for developing your understanding of that, and then the way that flows into to create these molecular fields. So those are the dynamics that are underlying these molecular fields, which then through sympathetic vibration flows from quark to galaxy. These subtle and universal elements, the pranas, the vayus, the winds that blow from from the quark to the galaxy.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino